He's Tim.
And he's Harry.
And we're about to turn paper sideways.
You're listening to Turn Paper Sideways, the podcast where we talk about cardboard and rotating it 90 degrees.
We talk about all things Magic the Gathering, from current affairs to our favourite format, Commander. And this week we complete our pet card series by sharing with you our pet legendary creatures.
Yes, this was for me by far the hardest top 5 to come up with.
And for me.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. If you want to find us online, you can find us on Twitter at TPSMTG.
You can send us an email to turnpapersideways@gmail.com. Send us love mail, hate mail, or complaints that your children are keeping you up at night.
Oh, yeah. Do that. You can find us on YouTube by searching for Turn Paper Sideways. Give us a subscribe. That goes a really long way into helping us find more people to join the Turn Paper Sideways family. Another way you can really support us is by giving us a 5-star rating on your podcast app, iTunes, Overcast. It goes such a long way into helping people find us, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and another way you can support us is by going to patreon.com/turnpapersideways and donating as little as $1 an episode there. It goes a really long way to keeping the Turn Paper Sideways lights on and to keep the content coming to your ears.
Harry, would you like to do the news?
Yes, I would. Timothy, the news this week is very exciting, let me tell you.
Tell me, Harry.
There is a new set being released in just a month. Nobody knew anything about it until today, but it is called Ultimate Masters. So over the weekend, a lot of people received something called an Ultimate Box Topper in the post, and this was sort of an apology from Wizards for a big kerfuffle over some Ravnica Mythic Edition stuff.
Okay.
And so it was a little packet which contained a foil card. Some of them had new art on them, and all of them had a weird sort of extended art box, but they were all reprints of very exciting, sought after, and sometimes very expensive cards. And so nobody knew what this was about. They were put all over the internet, especially because in the apology note that came with them, Wizards encouraged people to take pictures and put them online.
Nice.
And so everyone was sort of asking lots of questions. They had a new set symbol, but basically it's all been revealed today. Today being Monday the 5th of November. This podcast will go out in a week, so it'll be old news by then. But basically, this is a new Masters set. So Ultimate Masters is going to release on December the 7th. It will be the last Masters set for a while, we've heard. That's sort of in quotation marks. We don't know if that means forever and they're just not planning anything else, or if that means that they've got one planned in sort of 3 years or so. But we've had 3 Masters sets in the last year, and so we've sort of had a bit of an overload. And so this is going to be the last one for a while, and I can possibly understand why. If they've been releasing so many, they might have seen a drop in sales. But anyway,
yeah.
Like all the previous Master sets, they're going to they'll contain 1 foil card per pack. Nice thing about it is you'll only be able to get the boxes from LGSs. So a full sealed box will only come from your local game shop, wherever that is. I suspect that might include online shops for in the UK, things like Magic Madhouse and stuff like that, but certainly your small game shops should be able to order them. I think the main thing is that they're not going to be available at places like Walmart and Target in the US or Tesco in the UK, sort of mass market shops. It'll be sort of smaller independent companies instead. And I don't know if that's sort of off the back of the kerfuffle with the Hasbro shop with the Mythic Edition, but whatever.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Box Toppers, which people were getting in the post, are going to be included in every sealed box as sort of an extra. And so Ultimate Box Toppers, I think, are sort of like a baseball card thing. So if you bought a whole box of something, you got one. It's sort of a callback to older collectors' cards things. But yeah, basically you get one of these per box, and so that's one of 40 different cards, and they are super exciting. There are cards like Tarmogoyf, which has got new art. There's some really exciting lands. There's reprints of amazing and expensive lands like Cavern of Souls, Dark Depths, Celestial Colonnade. The whole Celestial Colonnade cycle is being reprinted as well, all those man lands, which is great for EDH. Cards like Bitter Blossom, the Eldrazi Titans, Emrakul and Kozilek. There are a couple of uncommons from the set that are going to be box toppers. There's Eternal Witness and one other. There's Caracas and Gadok Teague and lots of amazing sought-after cards which have probably wanted a reprint for a long time. But the thing that gets me is that this is going to be $335, which is £256 at the moment per box. You can buy a 3-pack blister pack for, I think it's something like $35, so it's going to be around 30 quid. But that is an expensive set.
Yeah, that's not. It's just definitely a Masters set, and it would be more expensive than the other Masters sets, and they always go up in value. And so this is going to be, I mean, people who want to invest in Magic, I would say this set probably is something to invest in.
Yeah, it's certainly worth considering. Those so the box toppers are sort of, I think they're going to be even more rare than Inventions. The amount that these boxes cost, the amount of boxes and cards that are actually going to be on the market is probably less than all the Inventions from standard sets. And so these are going to be really valuable cards. One thing that was really interesting is Mana Vault is included in the set and as a box topper, and that will be the first foil printing.
Wow. So that can be in... there's a format where you can only play with foil cards, isn't there?
Yeah, Highlander Roulette, you can only play with cards which have had a foil printing.
Oh, brilliant. That's a big deal for that format then.
Massive, yeah. But I think the bigger deal is that this is going to be sort of like a $500 card. The only foil printing. And the artwork's great. It's got new artwork. So like I said, lots of new artwork, and some of it is gorgeous. It's really worth going online to. They're all on the Wizards website, so you can look at the whole list of the box toppers, and I'm sure that in the coming weeks we'll see the whole of the rest of the set revealed. But boy, it's crammed full of good stuff. They really have pulled out all the stops.
That's really exciting. Yeah, my only worry is last time they didn't tell us about set until the very last minute I think it was Iconic Masters, and that was a bit of that was very disappointing, I think. And maybe that's just me, and if you really enjoyed that set, please don't let me ruin it for you. But I wasn't enthralled by that set as much as I think I should have been.
Yeah, I mean, the draft formats weren't particularly exciting for Iconic Masters or Masters 25, but there were some needed reprints in them. There were some good cards, but I mean, they sort of focused around the sort of $20 mark, somewhere between 20 and 30. This set is focusing on the $30 to $50 mark for their reprints. I mean,
and more.
Well, yeah, definitely. Dark Depths is I think a $40 card. Cavern of Souls, 50 to 60, possibly even more than that. I mean, Eternal Witness is there as an uncommon, and that is a $7 card at the moment.
Wow, so that's so cool.
Yeah. Oh. I'm really looking forward to seeing what else is in the set. It'll bring prices of EDH staples down, and especially if they've got new art, there are going to be people sort of churning out their old copies for new and exciting copies. So hopefully we'll sort of see the market flooded with cheaper copies of Eternal Witness. One of my favourite cards.
That is not a bad thing.
No, not at all. So yeah, that's the Magic news this week. What about our news, Tim?
So my news is that it's fireworks night. So if you can hear a very faint popping in the background, that is fireworks from my neighbours and their neighbours. If you don't live in England, and I don't know if this is a thing that everywhere else in the world does, but
it's
Guy
definitely
Fawkes,
not.
It's definitely not. Well, Guy Fawkes was a criminal. And they burned him on a big fire, and we celebrate that every year for trying to kill all the politicians.
Did they actually burn him on a fire?
I don't know.
We now burn an effigy of Guy Fawkes on a fire all over the country every year to celebrate the fact that he didn't succeed. He was plotting to blow up the government building, basically, and it didn't work. It's sometime in like the 1500s.
This is propaganda at its finest. Ladies and gentlemen, we are burning models of people to thank the government for not dying. So that's my news.
That's sort of our country's news. There's fireworks going off behind me now as well. What about your news, Tim?
Well, by the time you're listening to this episode, it's very likely that I will have a baby.
What?
I'm going to be a full father. It's pretty insane. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah, so that means that sadly we're going to have a few weeks without Tim. I have
Going on
very
paternity
generously given Tim paternity leave.
With pay? No, just kidding. I don't get paid for this.
I don't know where you're getting paid from.
I mean, every month some money goes into my bank account. It says from Harry, so I don't know. I guess it's from you.
That was bribery for not sharing my secrets, I think.
Oh, sorry, Harry.
So anyway, this is Tim's last episode for a little while. He's going to have a little Christmas break early.
Yes.
I also will be having a Christmas break. I'll tell you more about that in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a nice podcast rest, but for now, Tim is going off to be a dad. And
Yes.
It's incredibly exciting. And well, Tim, I'm going to talk to you quite a lot. I'm going to come and see you and your new baby days after he's born, or she. Who knows?
He. I mean, it's okay. It's a he.
Okay, days after
Thanks,
he's born, and so I'm going to see you. But I wish you all the best. I'm thrilled. It's really exciting for you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm double thrilled. I can't believe it. My wife is just about ready to start yelling at her stomach to be empty, but
Yeah, sure.
But she's doing very well.
In honour of your impending fatherhood, I've done something a little bit fun. I've brewed you a deck.
I'm very excited. Listeners, I don't have any knowledge of what's about to be said. Just to preface that.
Great. Well, so now that we know that you are not responsible for anything that comes hereafter, here is Tim's fatherhood deck. So I haven't finished brewing it yet. I've just got some really good ideas for cards to put into it. And so the colours are blackless. It'll be white, blue, green and red.
Brilliant.
So I think the commander will be Kanaeus and Tiro. So in a way, a couple who are prepared to sort of nurture a new life. Two fathers, if you will. Two for the price of one. But you are one father. And so the first thing any father needs to care for his baby is a mother. So the first card in the deck is Mother of Runes. It's one white
it is.
for a 1/1 human cleric. You tap it and target creature you control gains protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. So that is a mother with protective instincts for Tim's newborn baby.
This is brilliant.
When Tim has got a new baby, he will have an extra mouth to feed. Mouth to feed is a sorcery on one side. It's 2 and a green. Which says create a 3/3 green hippo creature token, and I hope that you do not have a hippo creature. I hope that you have a human creature, but the sentiment is the same. On the other half, this is a sorcery with Aftermath, which means you can only cast it from your graveyard. Its feed is for 3 and a green. You draw a card for each creature you control with power 3 or greater. Now, one of the things that babies want quite a lot of is food. So at some point in your day, Tim, it will be time to feed. Which is a sorcery for 2 and a green, which says choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. Target creature you control fights that creature. I don't know what this is implying, but maybe you'll like to sort of have a bit of rough and tumble with your son. Who knows? After your baby has been fed, it's time to go for a nap. So you will take your baby into his bedroom to put him down, and this we will call the Molten Nursery. 2 and a red for an enchantment. It says whenever you cast a colourless spell, Molten Nursery deals 1 damage to target creature or player.
This is fantastic.
Of course, the baby won't settle without a companion in his cot with him. And so we've got for him a Stuffy Doll. For 5 mana, an artifact creature. As Stuffy Doll enters the battlefield, choose a player. Stuffy Doll is indestructible, and whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. And then you can tap it, and Stuffy Doll deals 1 damage to itself. It's a construct artifact creature. It's a 0/1. I'm really sorry, Tim, but your baby is going to have nightmares.
If you don't know, Stuffy Doll is one of the most creepy cards printed.
The artwork is unbelievably creepy. I would not give that to my baby, but it was the only soft toy type thing in the whole of Magic.
This is brilliant.
Hopefully, with all of this, with your baby well fed in a comfortable bed with his companion by his side, you will be able to get him off to sleep. And so we've got Send to Sleep. This is one in a blue for an instant. You may tap up to 2 target creatures and spell mastery if there are 2 or more instant and/or sorcery cards in your graveyard. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. So basically, once you've got really good at being a dad, that's spell mastery, or maybe in this case, dad mastery, your baby doesn't wake up until the morning.
That is... so good.
Now, so that you and your wife can enjoy a nice peaceful night, you will need a nice bit of technology. You've got a baby monitor, and so the last card I want to include in the deck is Brood Monitor. 4 green for a creature Eldrazi drone. It's a 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, you put 3/1/1 colourless Eldrazi Scion creature tokens onto the battlefield that have sacrifice this creature, add 1 mana to your mana pool. And so that's where I've got to. Listeners, if you've got any other fatherhood-style cards, please tweet them to us at TPSMTG on Twitter.
If I can get 60 cards that are like father-type things and any lands that are also like that, I am 100% going to build this deck. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. And I believe your wife helped you with this, so thank you very much.
She did. She suggested the whole idea in the first place. And with that, Tim, do you want to do the main topic?
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break for laughter now. Okay, we are back. And we've composed ourselves.
Harry, why don't you go first? Because I've gone first pretty much every time.
Cool. Okay, well, this, like we said, this is the hardest one we've done. So we're going to go through our top 5 legendary creatures. So we separated this because obviously in Commander, legendary creatures are sort of the whole centre of the format.
Exactly.
Not all of these, though, are cards which I use as commanders. They just happen to be legendary. I don't know if the same is true for you, Tim, but...
Yeah. They're
great.
cards. In fact, none of my top 5 are currently commanders. 2 of them are, in my mind, about to be.
Well, Tim and I both brew prolifically, and so they will probably become commanders at some point. Some of these are commanders that I have had in the past. Some of them are cards that I'm thinking about building decks around. So, we'll see how it goes. So my number 5 is one of those that I'm always tempted to build a deck around, but I haven't got around to it. It's Glisser the Traitor, black, green for a legendary zombie elf. It's a 3/3 with First Strike and Death Touch, and that is a mean combination.
That is horrible, yeah.
And it says, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand.
That is bonkers, especially when paired with artifact infect creatures, or just artifact creatures in general.
Yeah, or just, to be honest, just any powerful artifacts, things that sacrifice themselves for their effect, anything like that. It's amazing. I put it in, it's currently in my Merrin deck. My stock green-black deck. I've always got a rotating Golgari deck. The commander changes quite a lot because I play it so much. It's my favourite colour combination, so I change the commanders up, make sure it stays exciting. So currently it's Merrin. Glisser is in there just because I've got a few important artefacts in the deck, things like Trading Post and Vidalcan Orrery, just to make sure that I can keep getting them back. Because Merrin only cares about creatures, so that's quite important. But it's on turn 3, an amazing blocker.
Yeah, First Strike, Death Touch. Just the only thing that kills a First Strike, Death Touch is another creature with First Strike or removal. It's unless the thing you're attacking has indestructible, it kills everything. I add Trample to that, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, oh boy. But yeah, Glisser the Traitor, it's been one of my favourite cards for a long time. I love playing with it. It's just so good to have utility cards like this, which get your important cards back from the graveyard. I always like to make sure that my cards are never gone. So even if they've been destroyed 100 times, I want to be able to get them back somehow. So I build a lot of my decks around it.
Spoken like a true Golgari player.
Thank you very much indeed. Tim, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Anafenza the Foremost. This was the first standard deck I built around this card, and then one of the first EDH decks I built, and then the first EDH deck my brother built was with most of the cards from that deck. And this is so for white, black, green, you get a 4/4 legendary creature, human soldier, and it says whenever Anafenza the Foremost attacks, put a 1/1 counter on another target tapped creature you control. That's not the main ability; it's just gravy, I think. And it also says if a creature card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This completely turns off Dredge. It turns off Recursion. It turns off Glisser. Sort of, if they're artifact creatures.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Yeah, this is just such a good utility card. If you can put it in the deck, if the colours allow it, I just recommend putting it in the deck because it does counters. So if that's your strategy, that's great, and you're playing Abzan, so it probably is part of your strategy. But just graveyard hate, you should always have at least one graveyard hate card in your deck, whether it's a Tormod's Crypt or an Anafenza. I think it's just really important to have at least one. So when you do sit across from that player who just goes off with their graveyard, you need.
Definitely. As the graveyard player, I agree that graveyard hate is important. But this Anafenza does sort of read annoy target Harry.
We like to counter Harry's abilities, like pinpoint.
Mostly.
We like to make him feel bad about it.
Yeah. The thing that I've discovered about Abzan is that I cannot choose which cards to put into an Abzan deck. I love the +1 counters theme. I love the graveyard theme, token themes in Abzan.
Yeah.
Everything Abzan does, I love doing. So building an Abzan deck for me is sort of torture because I can whittle it down to 200 cards minimum.
Yeah, Abzan is hard to build. I've currently building an Abzan deck, and it's currently 300 cards. Not real cards. I'm building it on my phone, but yeah, I don't even know what the deck's doing. Like you say, is it counters? Is it graveyard? Is it life drain? Is it recursion? Who knows?
Yeah. There's so much that it can do. You need to focus on one of those things to do it really well. But why? Because you could have fun doing all of these things.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can make it work, then do it. Modular cards. That's what we like.
Absolutely.
Modal cards, even.
Yeah. Well, my number 4 is a Simic card, and this is not hard to build around at all. This is so easy just put all of your favourite cards in the right colour in, and it will probably work. Thrasios Triton Hero. This is one of the partner commanders from Commander 2016. He's a legendary merfolk wizard. He's a 1/3, and he says he's got an activated ability for 4 mana. You scry one, and then you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, otherwise draw a card. So everything you want to do in Commander, just couple it with another partner commander to get another colour or another 2 colours, and you're away. You just know that you're going to be able to do it. He costs green and a blue, so a 2 mana commander is amazing.
So good.
So turn 2, you can start going to value turn.
Yeah, turn 2 you play your commander. Turn 3 you ramp a little bit. Turn 4 you just go off. It's just this is so sweet. This is it's such a good utility because it's got partner as well. So if you have another color you want to add, being able to add 1 or 2 more colors to this deck is very, very powerful.
Yeah, I've just built a Vile Smasher and Thrasios deck for Christmas.
Oh, cool.
Vile Smasher, in a tongue-in-cheek way, playing the role of Father Christmas, and so he'll be riding in on his sleigh. It's Cultivator's Caravan.
Oh, nice.
And, with Rudolph, Burnished Heart, and he'll be coming to give everyone the gifts. I think Thrasios perhaps plays the role of the workshop foreman in Father Christmas's workshop. Perhaps, I don't know.
When you say giving gifts, is the gift damage, or are you giving people troublesome cards?
No. The gift is I play an Ugin and deal 8 damage to someone.
You're welcome, everybody.
Exactly, quite right. Happy Christmas. So I'm getting ready for Christmas in proper merfolk and goblin style. Anyway, Tim, your number 4, please.
Well, I think my number 4 goes in the deck you were just talking about, because in the art he's just received his spear and he's very happy about it. Look at him. He's look at my spear. This is Surak Dragonclaw, also from the same set as Anafenza, the same cycle actually. For 2 green, blue, red. So this Teamer. You get a 6/6 for 5 mana, legendary creature, human warrior. It has flash, so you can play it at instant speed. It can't be countered. It gives all your other creatures can't be countered, and it also says your other creatures have trample. This is so cool. This just has 4 great things on it. If you just want one of them, you can have the others for free. It's brilliant. This is in my Animar Morph deck. Being able to prevent my morph creatures from being countered, because then you get to see them if you counter it. Giving my creatures trample because you don't know how big they are. Playing it at instant speed. I like doing that. I actually think this is one of the cards that's going to become a commander. I like my morph deck, my Anima morph deck. It hasn't changed for 3 years. I think this is going to become the commander. Anima will be in the 99, but I'm going to change it up a bit. At the moment, it's just abuse Anima's ability by playing morph creatures. And now I think I'm going to go down a little bit more, trying to abuse morph in a different way, rather than cheating mana cost, because it's fun, but once you've won by killing everyone with infinitely big Anima 20 times, it's a bit like, well, that was fun. Next.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, I really like this card. I really like all of the legendary creatures from Khans of Tarkir. All 5 of them, they're brilliant. But these 2 are my definite favourites.
Cool. Nice. So this is probably an episode for us to get on our soapboxes a little bit and preach why we think our cards are the best cards. I know for a fact that you think Surrak Dragonclaw is a little bit underrated.
I really do. I understand that it doesn't say build around me. It says put me in the 99 if you're playing creatures.
Yeah,
and that's kind of all it says. But I still think it's really good, and I don't see it very often. I feel like I see enough Teamer decks that I should see this card more often.
Okay, we don't have any Teamer decks in my playgroup, so I never see this sort of card. But
I do mean decks with Teamer within it, actually, like 4-color and 5-color decks.
Well, a deck which does have Teamer in it is my next one. My number 3 is Knaos Antiro of Meletis, and I particularly like this one because you can basically do whatever you want.
Yeah.
This is it's a legendary creature, human soldier, for 4 mana. It's red, green, white and blue for a 2/8, and it says at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Each player may put a land card from his or her hand onto the battlefield, and then each opponent who didn't draws a card. So this is the commander for my enchantment deck. We did that in a podcast a few weeks ago, and if you haven't heard it, I recommend going back and listening to it because it's a deck that I am particularly fond of.
Yeah.
But I think K&T is just a fantastic commander for so many strategies, and the reason why is that everybody builds group hug with K&T, and so they've got sort of a reputation for being a group hug commander. But I think actually this is a commander for spikes.
Okay.
So
elaborate.
So sure, this looks like I'm going to help out the table and everyone will like me. I think this is actually, if you really focus on this, you can see that you get much more of a benefit if you're K&T's controller than the rest of the table, and I think you get twice as much benefit, and I think that the amount that propels your head is so powerful. So the fact that you draw a card and you can put a land onto the battlefield at the end of your turn is massive, and everybody else will sort of leave K&T alone. My playgroup have been playing with me with this card for a long time, and I still get them saying things like, can we have K&T this turn? Because they get a bonus off it, and so nobody wants to remove it. Everybody wants it at the table. I find that people might start to leave you alone, and I've had a couple of iterations of K&T decks, but my enchantment one is sort of getting a reputation in my playgroup for being not so nice to play against. It's just a control deck.
Yeah, I've played it. It is.
But there are so many strategies. The fact that you draw cards and ramp is massive. So just anything that doesn't need black, just put K&T as your commander, and I almost guarantee that you'll have a great time. I think that this is a sorely misunderstood commander. I think that you could build whatever you want around this card and have fun doing it.
Yeah. What are the 2 strategies just mechanics that we say you need in every deck that the Command Zone have said since episode 1 you need at least 10 of each of these cards, and it's drawing cards and ramp. This does both. This is on your commander, which you have access to throughout the whole game. This is, you know what I'm going to do? I'll build a K&T morph deck, because then I can get all the sweet white ones as well.
Oh, yeah, you can.
And Surrak Dragonclaw can go in there.
And it'll be the commander of your K&T fatherhood deck.
I can morph it into a father deck just as I... No, that's so cringy. Should we do my number 3?
Maybe. Let's go there.
My number 3 is Aetherios, God of Passage. Harry and I both love all the gods, but this one particularly for me.
Mm-hmm.
1 white and a black. It's a 5/4 legendary enchantment creature god. It has indestructible, and it also says, as long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, Aetherios isn't a creature. That rider's on all the gods. It's just relevant for the different colours.
Yeah.
It also says, whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. The things that the 2 words that make this card for me is creature you own, so it doesn't matter if someone else is controlling it, and target opponent. The fact that you choose who gets to pay the life. So you choose the guy who's on 6 life, who can't afford to pay the life and has to give you the creature. Or if you don't mind whether you get the creature back or you hurt someone, you can maybe choose the person who needs to come down a peg or 2. So yeah, this is such a good deck. My friend Joe, this was his first proper EDH deck, and it was horrifying. It was so scary, and he won most of the time. It's such a fun deck. There are just so many, like, it's such a linear, you want it to sacrifice your creatures, but there are so many different ways you can do it, and this deck, I feel like it looks different depending on who's built it. I like it.
Mm-hmm. I built an Aetherios board wipe tribal deck once, and that was not fun. That wasn't fun for anyone. I had a lot of board wipes in it, and I had a lot of cheap creatures.
Brilliant.
You can see where this is going.
That's so good. So you play the creatures, you kill them all, and then you get them all back because people can't afford to pay 30 life.
Exactly.
Or you kill them.
That's it. Or you kill them. That's it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
My number 2 is in this same vein. This is another of the Theros gods. It's Farika, God of Affliction. 1 black and green for a legendary creature, a legendary enchantment creature god. It's a 5/5 with indestructible. Again, that god rider, as long as your devotion to black and green is less than 7, Farika isn't a creature. But the activated ability says black and green, that's the cost. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Its owner puts a 1/1 black and green snake enchantment creature token with death touch onto the battlefield. Right. So everybody sort of thinks that Farika is the worst of all the Theros gods.
Yep.
Everybody thinks that. I disagree. Earlier in the show,
why.
We mentioned that graveyard hate is super important. Farika is graveyard hate on your commander.
Yeah.
I've got a very powerful Marchesa deck in my playgroup. So as I mentioned, my Golgari deck sort of rotates its commander. For quite a long time, it was Farika. And Steve, the Marchesa player, hated playing against Farika. The deck was incredibly janky. It had lots of fairly rubbish creatures, and I intended it to be that way, but the commander was horrifying. You did not want to have creatures in your graveyard because instead of creatures coming out of the graveyard, you'd end up with a 1/1 snake.
Yeah. Which is not as good.
No. The fact that Farika can conjure up a blocker at instant speed is really nice. It's a 1/1 death touch blocker, so you know that it's going to block effectively. The other fantastic thing is that it's an enchantment creature token. So it works with all the enchantment synergies, things like Eidolon of Blossoms. Whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. That goes in the deck brilliantly because you exile a creature card from your graveyard to create a blocker, and you also draw a card. The value there is amazing. And so I think that if you build around Farika, it's not the most rubbish god. I think it's actually far from it, and there are subtle synergies which are really powerful in Commander. I think that overtly powerful things in Commander are not too good because people see them coming and they remove them and they counter them and they build their whole decks against them. But Farika is so sort of under the radar that I think you're going to have a really good game if you play with this as your commander.
Yeah, I think my favourite interaction for Farika is someone else attacking someone else, and you giving them a blocker.
Yeah, amazing.
That's brilliant. You help someone, they owe you, and you remove someone's creature.
Exactly. It's a political tool. It's just fantastic. And again, like 3 mana for your commander is so good. So many powerful commanders, like 4, 5, 6 mana. For 3 mana, you're going to get a 5/5 indestructible blocker if you've got enough devotion. That on its own is pretty good. But the thing is that I just love all of the gods. Tim said it. We love these cards. And this isn't
Yeah.
the Amonkhet gods, which I think are a little bit less good. I just
Meh.
love all of the Theros gods. There are 15 of them in total, one for each monocolour and one for each two-colour pair. And they're amazing. I love Ifara, God of the Polis. She almost made it onto this list. That's the blue and white one, and you draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. Karametra, God of Harvest, the green and white one. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you go and get a forest or a plains out of your deck and put it straight onto the battlefield tapped. Amazing. All of the others are amazing as well. The monocoloured ones are great. There's some brilliant card draw effects, creature buffing effects. It's just all sorts. Whatever you want to do, they are so true to their colour identity, and I love
for
them.
sure. Thassa, the mono blue one, just lets you scry every turn, and that is such a big deal. It has another
3
ability,
mana.
I can't remember. For 3 mana. It's my first mono blue deck was a Thassa deck for a very, very long time. It's just a really fun deck. The fact that it's indestructible, the fact that it's not a creature until you get your devotion up, so you can actually choose to not make it a creature, which makes it even harder to kill.
Yeah.
You can kill people with command damage. These creatures are bigger than they should be. There's 3 mana for a 5/5 for Farrakha. That's 4 hits and they're dead. That's, if you can pump it 1, it's sweet.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to my Enchantress deck episode, you'll hear about a lot of these. I've got Heliod, I've got Thassa, I've got Perforos in there, and Thassa is literally only in there for the Scry 1 ability, and 3 mana to Scry 1 every turn is amazing, especially if that enchantment is indestructible. So yeah, I think some of these sorely underrated. So this is my soapbox moment. Farrakha is an amazing commander which should see more play. I think she's got less than 300 decks on EDH Rec, and
That's
that
insane.
should change. It's super cheap. It's like £3 for this card, and for a commander, I think you'll really enjoy this.
Yeah. And the opposite spectrum, this card, my number 2 is appropriately rated. It's not underrated, it's not overrated. People think this card is as good as it is because this card is so good.
I agree.
I actually thought this was going to be on your list. When I opened the show notes, I was quite relieved to find I could put it in my top 5. This is Muldrotha the Gravetide. 3 black, green, blue for a 6/6 legendary creature elemental avatar. This is from Dominaria, so it's quite a new card. During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. What? You get to play basically all your cards from your graveyard. Like, that's just so good. You have to pay for it, but they're just always there. This and Kess is great. She's the instants and sorceries version of this. You only get to play 1 a turn, and only on your turn. So that's why she's not on the list, but she goes really well with Muldrotha. I have, in my 5-colour deck, had Muldrotha and Kess out at once, and it felt so good. My graveyard was my hand. It was fantastic.
Brilliant. Muldrotha, I've just checked, has over 1,000 decks on EDH.
Goodness.
And so I feel a little bit like we're probably preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, you don't need us to tell us how good Muldrotha is. Harry do you still have a Muldrotha deck?
No, I actually took it apart. I really enjoyed playing with Muldrotha. I had it for a while. It was brilliant. It was a lot of fun. But what I found is that with my deck, I'd sort of went ham on the Muldrotha strategy, and the whole plan was just to be able to cast cards from my graveyard.
Right.
And so I ended up spinning my wheels and not doing a lot of winning. So I changed it up. I put some more things in. I put a sort of infinite Nexus of Fate combo in and all sorts of things. But ultimately it did the same sort of wheel spinning every time. And so I've taken it out. It may well go into another deck which I'm building, but for now I've had my fun with Muldrotha. I played a lot of games and it was good, but it was time to call it a day.
Has it been replaced, or is it just the cards are now in other decks?
The cards have gone into some other decks. So as I've got a Merrin deck at the moment, so I put a lot of the cards into Merrin. A lot of the blue cards are going to go into my Vile Smasher and Thrasios Christmas deck.
Fantastic. Christmas deck is so good.
But yeah, I do love this. It was when this card was spoiled, my jaw dropped. Like, what? You can't print that.
No, but, yeah, that's cheating.
Basically, yeah. But it's 6 mana in 3 different colours, and It doesn't have any evasion or any other abilities. So it's basically sort of like an enchantment, because nobody's going to want to get hit by a 6/6, so they will chump block it. It hasn't got flying or trample or anything like that. And so basically it's just a 6-mana enchantment, which is easy to remove. And so I feel like it is totally fair.
It's a creature, so that makes it inherently fair. But that ability, if you can stop this card from dying, it's fun as well. It's fun to play your cards more than once, especially when you choose which cards goes in your deck. So you say, oh, I like this card, so cast it twice. That's double the fun. I really love this card, and if you haven't built one of these decks, don't necessarily have to build a deck around it, but certainly if you can fit it in a deck, I recommend it because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think cards like this often don't get considered for the 99 so much, especially cards in 3 colours. So many of your cards here are 3 colours. Cards in 3 colours often only get considered as commanders, but I think that this is worth a consideration in a 3 or 4 or 5 colour deck. Yeah,
for sure. It's obviously harder. You have to have the exact 3 colour combination, but with 4 colours, it's a lot easier to find a 3 colour. Go to the Khans of Tarkir, block, and those some great commanders, or just some great 99 legendary creatures. We don't get the downside of legendary creatures in our format. We play the card, we only ever want one of it, and the only way you get the downside is if you try and copy it, which I do a lot.
and there are things like Mirror Gallery and Helm of the Host,
which is just that should be in every single deck.
Yeah,
that's not true.
That's not
true. What's your number 1, Harry?
Well, I think for our number 1s, we need a drum roll. Tim, drum roll, please.
Oh, yes.
My number 1 is Selvala, Heart of the Wilds.
Woo-hoo!
This is a deck which we have spoken about quite a lot. We've done a whole episode on it. Selvala is one of my favourite cards from the whole of Magic, and it encompasses everything I want to do. It's 1 green for a legendary Elf Scout, 2/3, and she says, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. And for a green, you can tap her and add X mana in any combination of colours to your mana pool, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So I have had for a long time a Selvala big creatures deck, and I have had a lot of fun with it. And that clause at the beginning reads like everyone's going to get the same advantage, but very quickly people start drawing cards because I've got a 12/12 or a 15/15 or a 20/20.
Yeah, it's this. I mean, if you've ever wanted to have a really quick game of EDH, build a Selvala deck, because it's so cool. It's so fast. It's such an explosive deck. It's really, when Selvala comes out, you need to kill her immediately. Whatever big creature Harry just cheated out, it's not as bad as Selvala.
It's probably about right. And I have had a lot of fun. I did find that I was doing the same thing every time, and I won in the same way every time. I had an artifact called Staff of Domination in the deck, and Staff of Domination is well known for going infinite with a lot of things. And basically with Selvala and Staff of Domination, you can create infinite mana and draw infinite cards and gain infinite life and tap everybody's creatures. And I found that basically I created lots of mana, drew my whole deck, put loads of big creatures onto the battlefield, and played Concordant Crossroads and won because I hit everybody for lots of damage. That got shortcut in my play group to Selvala Staff of Domination, I win, and it became quite boring. So I took Staff of Domination out, and I've been having loads of fun with the combo free version of Selvala. Just standard mono green stompy beatdown, good times fun.
Is it still as competitive as it was, or
nowhere near?
Is it kind of? Oh really? Wow.
Selvala is basically a really competitive tier 1 CEDH commander, and it's a combo deck. You play to get your big infinite mana and draw combos, and like Staff Domination, and you win that way. But I think it's actually more fun if you take those combos out. So I had such a good game with Selvala the other day. I had Pathbreaker Ibex on the battlefield, which says when it attacks, every other creature you control, or all creatures you control, get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. I also had Genesis Hydra on the battlefield, which is a 20/20, I also had Colonian Hydra, which says when it attacks, double the number of counters on each creature you control. So Genesis Hydra was a 20/20. It became a 40/40, which meant that Pathbreaker Ibex gave everything else plus 40/40 till end of turn, which meant that I just beat everybody with lots of big creatures, and it was amazing. So since taking all the combos out, I really have been enjoying Selvala a lot more.
I'm really glad. Yeah, I think it'll be a sad day when you don't have a Selvala deck. Selvala is definitely the deck I think of when I think of Harry's EDH decks, because it's the one that's killed me the most spectacularly.
Amazing. Well, shall we continue on the mono-coloured route into your number one team with a drum roll?
I am so excited about this card. I don't own enough of these cards. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Sakashima the Imposter. 2 blue for a 3/1 legendary creature, human rogue. This is from Kamigawa. It's so cool. This is a lot of text. As Sakashima the Imposter comes into play, you may choose a creature in play. If you do, Sakashima becomes into play as a copy of that creature, except its name is still Sakashima the Imposter. It's still legendary, and it gains 2 blue. Return Sakashima the Imposter to its owner's hand at end of turn. Oh, so good. You can play this to make a copy of your bonkers good legendary creature.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can.
And you can also return it back to your hand and do it for a different creature. My favourite thing in all of Magic is to make copies of my creatures. My least favourite thing in all of Magic is to make copies of my legendary creatures for them to just die, which is why Mirror Gallery is probably the best artifact ever. And so this creature just says, copy a creature that you can't normally copy. It can copy non-legendary creatures, it's important to note. So it's just a good clone. This goes in a clone deck, obviously, but I don't know how I feel about this being a commander. I've never seen it. But if you're playing blue and you like what your commander does, you need to play Sakashima the Imposter. Unless what your commander does doesn't work with 2. The best example of the one it really works with is Mizzix, or any of the blue people that care about experience counters, because just double the effect of it. This card really excites me, and I don't see it very often. It's quite expensive. It's about £15 or dollars. I actually don't know how much it is. It is old, and I think it needs reprinting. But yeah, if you can get one of these cards and just put it in a blue deck, it's a lot of fun, and I just don't see this enough. This is definitely my number one.
Amazing. What's the best creature you have copied with Sakashima?
Mizzix.
Is that it?
I mean, it's so good. Mizzix makes your spells cheaper, so make them double cheaper. Or if it's an X spell, double the amount that you're burning someone or you're drawing cards. That's insane.
All right, cool.
Make a Kess. I haven't done this, but make a Kess. Cast 2 instants or
sorceries or instants. Nice.
Make a Muldrotha. Cast 2 of every permanent cards. What else we've got? In this list, we've got K&T. Draw 2 cards at the end of turn. Play 2 lands.
Surak Dragonclaw. Everything has trample, and can't be counted. No?
Exactly.
Okay, just me?
No. Yeah, just a legendary creature with blue in it that makes you go, oh wow, that's cool. I think it's best with static effects. It obviously works with other things like tap effects, but I think something that says this is the case while you have this creature. If this is the case double, that's where you really get the kind of the meat from Sakashima.
Amazing. Well, those are our top 5s. You heard it here. These are our favourite legendary creatures, and at some point we will probably have built a commander deck around all of them. Tim,
yes,
I'm looking forward to seeing your mono blue Sakashima deck. I'm quite looking forward to seeing what my Glitter Artifacts deck looks like. But this wouldn't be a Turn Paper Sideways top 5 list without a few honourable mentions. There are a few cards that didn't make the list. We said that this was such a hard list to build. There are so many good cards, and so we've got just a few more we want to talk about. And I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about one of these, Tim.
So it wouldn't be an episode of Turn Paper Sideways if I didn't talk about Zada. And honestly, I think this might be my number one, just because of how much fun I've had with Zada. But at the same time, Sakashima the Imposter. Come on, guys. I feel like this is more of an honorable mention. I've talked about Zada so much. Copying Zada with Sakashima is something that is good. You don't get double the effect, but Zada is a lightning rod. So if you can get two of them and it not matter, so that is why this is in and out of my Zada deck for sure.
Nice, yeah.
So Zada is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Zada, you get to copy it. And the main use for that is you cast a cantrip that says target creature gains such and such, trample, flying, death touch, you name it. Also, draw a card. So then you draw a card for each of your creatures. I've talked about this so much, so you're sick of me saying it. And you definitely, if you've heard me talking about it this much, you definitely built a Zada deck at this point. But it goes in really well with General Tazri, which is a 5-color ally that when it enters the battlefield lets you go and search for an ally, which is what Zada is.
Yeah.
I don't need to say any more.
Nice. Well, listeners, our episode 1 was all about Zada, so go back and listen to Tim's deck tech on that. One of my favourite cards, which I couldn't fit into my top 5, is Merrin of Clan Nel Toth. 2 green-black for a legendary human shaman. It's a 3/4 with whenever another creature you control dies, you gain an experience counter, and at the beginning of your end step, choose target creature card in your graveyard. If that card's converted mana cost is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, return it to the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So this is one of the most popular commanders of all time. It's one of the most built commanders on EDH Rec, and it's for good reason. It's incredibly powerful, it's incredibly fun. It enables a very powerful sort of creature control strategy. Lock down the board, sacrifice your creatures. People don't get to have other creatures because you've got Dictate of Erebos and things like that. But to be honest, I just love the value. So this is a card advantage commander. Everything about this means you get to use your creatures more than once. You get to out card advantage your opponents. And so I just think that this is obviously not underrated, but it's one of my pet cards. It goes in every green-black deck. So at the moment I've got a Merrin deck. If I haven't got a Merrin deck, it goes in the 99 of my Golgari deck.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love playing with it. It's such a powerful effect, and it's just so good to be able to sacrifice your creature and get it straight back at the end of turn. I love it.
Yeah, it's I mean, that was your first. It was your first proper deck. It was like
it was.
When you first got into EDH, it was Merrin. So I feel like, that's probably got something to do with why you've always got a Golgari deck.
Well, my first deck was actually Boros, and then I got a Merrin deck,
wasn't it?
And I realised that I was heading down the wrong path, so I corrected my course and found my true passion.
But let it be known that I have been absolutely demolished in a tent by Harry's Boros deck. So. It still wasn't bad.
Anyway, few more honourable mentions. Yeah,
I am a big fan of the legends from the Ixalan block. 3 in particular. Admiral Beckett Brass. Excuse me. This is the Pirate Lord that lets you steal stuff when you hit people. There's Kumena, Tyrant of Orazka, which lets you tap your Merfolk to get kind of a bonus effect, 3 different effects, and then there's Gishath, Sun's Avatar, which lets you cheat out dinosaurs. I'm actually building 4 Brawl decks, also a Vampire one, which I don't care about very much. I'm really excited and this will probably never change. There'll be Ixalan block Brawl decks for eternity. I won't add new cards to them, and I'm quite excited to be like, oh, do you want to play Magic? Pirates, dinosaurs, Merfolk, or vampires? You choose. I think that's quite
amazing. Fun. I love this idea. I love the idea of having a battle box of Brawl decks specifically built around each other. It's sort of like your own precons, which you can always just pull out and play against each other. I just think that's so much fun. And these are really sort of interesting commanders and interesting tribes to build around. Ixalan was not well received as a limited format, or indeed, I think, in standard.
Was it not?
Well, because it's just so linear. It's basically you get to pick one of 4 archetypes. But I think for Commander, it makes fun gameplay. This is, if a beginner was getting into Magic, I'd say go and play with Ixalan cards because they perfectly explain how to play Magic. It's very simple. You attack with stuff and you get effects, or you tap creatures, and sort of every tribe does its own unique thing. But I think it's a really good teaching tool, and it's got everything that I love about Magic in sort of a simplified way, and there's something really nice about that.
And if you haven't played Merfolk in any format, play Merfolk because it's so much fun. On Arena, I play blue-green Merfolk deck, and if you want to just draw cards, play creatures, and win really big, if you're a Timmy and a Johnny kind of mixed in and a little bit of Spike, if you're all three, play Merfolk. It's so good, guys.
So there we go.
Harry, I am very excited because I'm going on paternity leave, and I'm excited because we are making time to play my favourite game ever.
What is it?
Annoying ads.
Annoying ads.
If you don't know what this game is, we played this a very long time ago. There is a Twitter account called Rosewater Stone. Like the Rosetta Stone, they translate Magic cards backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards through Google Translate and Babelfish, you name it, and then print it back onto a Magic card, and the results are so funny. So the game is, I will read Harry the text box of the card, so what the card does and the flavour text. If he guesses it then, he'll get 4 points. I'll then give him the card type line. If he guesses it then, 3 points. I'll then give him the title and the cost. If he gets it then, he gets 1 point. Is that right?
I think it was 2 points if I get it from the title, and 1 point after you've included the mana cost.
Ah, of course. That makes more sense. So, are you ready, Harry?
Yes, I think I am.
I have one card. I've had this saved on my phone for a very long time, and I'm very
I
excited.
haven't looked at Rosewater Stone in a long time to make sure that I don't get it spoiled to me.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. It is a victory, but it is not. There's the text box.
It is a victory, but it is not.
It is a victory, comma, but it is not. When the flavor text, when you see the knee chip, it's difficult to find a fake shape.
Okay.
You're never gonna get this.
It is a victory, but it is not.
Yes.
Okay, give me the type line.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Instant! Exclamation point.
Okay, so it's an instant. Brilliant.
Okay. Well, what if it isn't? That'd be amazing.
Yeah. It is a victory, but it is not. Okay, what's the name?
You sure don't want to guess? Make a guess?
I've got an idea, but if I guess, then I lose, don't I?
You do.
So yeah,
I'm so excited.
I want the name. I've got a fair idea what it might be, but I think I want the name to give me a better idea.
Okay, then it's not going to help. Chewing gum. Oh man, this is so good. You're never going to get this.
It is a victory, but it is not.
Yeah, I finally found a card that Harry can't guess. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, Harry's really good at this game, and I'm really not. So I'm very excited that I might have Harry stumped.
Okay, does the mana cost have red in it?
Nope.
Okay, in that case, I haven't got a clue what it is. What's the mana cost?
I've done it. Okay, I think you'll get it from this. I think.
Okay.
It is green. Just one
Fog.
Yes! Fog! I love it. Fog says, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn.
Yeah.
It is a victory.
But it is not.
It is not.
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum. So, for my birthday last year, Harry got me a I don't even know what card it was. Was it Flag Bearer or?
It was from Ixalan.
It was from Ixalan. I don't think it had the word bearer in it, but
no,
either way,
I don't think it did.
Harry had Tipexed over it and written cake bearer, and it was a lady standing very proud holding a cake.
You mean Tipex? That was a high quality altar.
Sorry, I wasn't suggesting anything but the best. But there was Tipex used. But yeah, and it said its power and toughness was equal to the amount of slices of cake you'd had that day. Fog being Harry's favourite card, I have had. I've been fine tuning it for about 6 months. a version of Fog that I'm going to alter, and I'm very, very excited. Harry's coming up in a few weeks,
Ooh.
and he's visiting, so I'm going to give it to him then. I've only just found a copy of Fog in my vast boxes of Magic cards. And
I can bring you a foil one if you want.
I mean, you don't like foils though.
No, but I've got a foil one, which you gave
Thank
me.
you. I did actually. No, I don't want to put this on foil. I want you to put this in a deck because it's very obviously. Oh, I'm so excited! I'm
Cool.
so excited.
Oh, thanks. Are you
When-
going
when-
to have
when I'm
time
giving it to
when
him-
you've got a baby?
I'm gonna do it before then, maybe. I'll
Who
do it at work
knows?
tomorrow.
The baby
But
could
yes,
come any
once
minute.
Once I've given it to Harry, we can share that because
Brilliant.
I think it's quite funny.
Oh, cool. Thanks. I think that's probably all we've got time for. This has been quite a marathon. Listeners, obviously, we are going to miss Tim while he's not with us over the next few weeks. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be taking a Christmas break as well. So I think we've got about 2 more episodes left in this series. I think we're going to wrap up this series quite nicely, this first year's worth of podcasts. And we will be back in the new year with something perhaps in a slightly different format. Tim and I have got some really interesting ideas rattling around. We're going to refine it, and we're going to make sure that the podcast is better than ever when we come back in 2019. But there are going to be a couple more weeks left, so stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Keep tuning back in, even though we are going to be without Tim. I am deeply sad that we're not going to have him with us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.
Cheerio. This is unbelievable. My whole body, my whole torso is in so much pain from laughing, but I'm very grateful.